Hey, what's up? This is ChoseN, and we have got a full champion guide with an infographic and some testing footage and some of my opinions on Vlad. Now that I've been on the test server and played around with him for a few hours, I'm going to get you all of that in honor of the Halloween Fusion for 2021. Let's get into it. Alrighty, so like I said, if you have summoned Vlad at some point in the future, the main context and reason for this video is because he was a fragment fusion event type thing going on for Halloween in 2021, and right now I'm actually on the test server, so this video will probably release when I am sleeping, because that is the embargo of when we're allowed to release content on stuff on the test server for Vlad is going to expire when I am sleeping super early in the morning for Americans. So this will probably be coming out while I am fast asleep, but I'm excited to record this and get some testing out as soon as possible because I know it's important. It's not very often that we get void legendaries as fusions. I believe Tormund and Sir Nick are the only ones that have ever happened out of like the 20-something fusions. So yeah, super rare that we get this. We're actually getting 2 champions coming because of Vlad actually has a tandem ability with Constantine the Dayborn, which is this guy right here, and I will be getting you some content on this guy as well for sure. I'm not going to leave Constantine out, but I want to dedicate this video to Vlad and do a deep dive on that since he is the fusion. And as always, for my champion guides, I will have an infographic right there that I will link down below in the pinned comment and the video info. So you can pull that up and take a look at the masteries that you see in this video and all of the general breakdown of the hero. You can see the 14 books, the aura, the stat priority, the sets, the grades that I have right there. We'll go over the tier list edition of Vlad on my tier list here at the end when I give my final thoughts as well. And you may notice that usually I've got the multipliers on there, but I do not have the multipliers for Vlad because as of me recording this, the multipliers are very much up in the air. I tested him, I figured out the multipliers, I reverse engineered them by plugging in how hard he was hitting on certain champions and stuff, and I figured out his multipliers. We started giving some feedback to Plarium about what we were experiencing on the test server, and I believe they're going to be adjusting them. I believe they're going to be increasing them a little bit, so I can't give you accurate information on the infographic as to what the multipliers are because they are kind of subject to change. It's a day-by-day thing here as I'm recording these as to these multipliers getting adjusted, but that's a good thing because they're willing to listen to feedback and up his multipliers a little bit based on what we told them. And now we can finally go over the base stats and the kit where we can see the books and everything, because when they do a champion reveal, we can't see that stuff. We can't see what the books do, the cooldowns, and the base stats. So the first thing that jumps out to me is going to be the base HP is kind of low. This guy's going to be a damage dealer. He is obviously an attack champion, so you can't really make him super tough. He doesn't have like 24,000 base HP or something, but he does have 1,100 base defense, which is pretty good for like an attack champion. It's not like 800 or something, so at least he gets a decent bump on the defense to make up for the lower base HP. 1443 on the attack is a little low. It's not like 1300 or anything, but it's not 1600 like we see with some attack champions, so it's going to be important for him to have good multipliers, and that was why we kind of gave them that feedback. Then we've got speed of 105 is pretty solid. He gets the bump on the base crit damage of 63, which is nice. 30 and 0 for resistance and accuracy is a little bit low. I would have liked to see like 40 and 10 or 30 and 20, something like that. Just getting 30 total out of accuracy and res is a little bit on the low end. Then as we dive into the kit, we can see that it is going to be attack one enemy and decrease target's max HP by 30% of the damage inflicted. So kind of like a built-in destroy set there automatically on the A1. And then we're also going to get a built-in lifesteal set. We're going to heal the champion by 30% of the damage inflicted. We got 4 books on that, giving us a 20% boost to damage. Then for the A2, has a 75% chance that we can book up to 100 of placing a leech debuff for 2 turns on an AoE there. So we got AoE leech, that's very reliable, 3-turn cooldown, places it for 2 turns, very nice. Also a 75% chance of stealing 50% of the turn meter from champions of Bannerlord, Sacred Order, or High Elf factions. Also a 75% chance of decreasing the turn meter by 50% instead against targets not from those factions. So basically, you are going to be manipulating their turn meter by 50% either way. It's just he's going to steal it if they're one of those 3 factions that he's going up against. And if they are not one of those factions, he's just going to be lowering it. So when you steal it, you lower their turn meter and add that to your own. When you lower it, you just lower theirs and it doesn't affect your own at all. And we can also book that effect in both circumstances from 75 to 100. Then for the A3, we've got attack one enemy 2 times. The first hit has a 75% chance that we can book up to 100 as well of placing the big version of decreased defense for 2 turns. And then the second hit has a 75% chance that we can book up to 100 of placing a block active skills for 2 turns. If both the debuffs are placed, which is going to be pretty common because they both have a 100% chance to proc as long as they're booked. So as long as you have accuracy, you should get pretty consistent perfect veil on this guy as well after that A3. And as you can see, we've got 5 books down below that are going to up the chances from 75 to 100 and make this a 3-turn cooldown. And Vlad also has a passive and an aura. So the passive is going to be placing revive on death buff on this champion for 2 turns every time he gets a kill. And then we're also going to fully heal the champion and fill his turn meter by 50% every time he gets a kill. So kill is going to be super impactful. This doesn't have a cooldown. We're just stacking kills with that passive. But it is worth noting that he will only get the turn meter fill when he is taking advantage of the duo tandem effect that he has with Constantin. And then we've got the aura here that is, and this actually wasn't in the initial document that Plarium gave us behind the scenes, so I wonder if they added this after the fact or whatever. But either way, it's a pretty underwhelming aura. In the arena, you're not really looking for crit rate as your leader. You're going to be looking for things like speed, maybe resistance, something like that. So if you're building a super fast team, you're going to obviously want a speed aura. If you're building like a defensive resistance type team, you're going to want something like defense, HP, or resistance. So you're not going to get value out of a crit rate arena battle aura very often. But I mean, an aura is better than no aura. So now let's head on over to the Vlad that I have got built, and we'll talk about the building process, the masteries, the booking, and everything that goes into building him as a champion. Alrighty, so here we are, and you can see I have got him in Savage. I wanted to see how hard this guy hits. Obviously, that's something that people are always super curious about when you first jump on here and you want to test a champion, especially when they are a void legendary damage dealer. Wanted to see what this guy had for potential, so I went with attack boots, and I also went with a Savage set with crit damage gloves. Wanted to see what I could get this guy cranking out for damage. So when you're building him, keep that in mind. He's probably that type of champion that you want to get to 100% crit rate with some good crit damage, and really make sure that he's ignoring defense. Get those cruel sets, those savage sets, so that you can really increase the output, because he does damage every single turn. He's got a good rotation of the A1, and then a 3-turn for the A2 and the A3 when he is booked. He's got some AoE, and he's got some hard hitting abilities as well, and hopefully those multipliers are going to be getting increased as I'm kind of talking about this here. But in terms of each individual piece and the building process, we do kind of want to get good accuracy on this guy. So nothing wrong with an accuracy banner. And then you're stacking as much of the stats as you can get on there. Obviously, anybody that you're going to be building to 100% crit rate as a damage dealer, you're going to want a crit damage amulet on them as well. And it would be nice to get some accuracy rolls as well, because you want his leech and his defense break and the block active skills and the stuff that he brings to the table. It would be nice to get some accuracy on there as well. We're getting as much stat as we can from the ring. We attack is definitely good, because he's going to be scaling well with those multipliers and putting out damage every turn. But defense and HP are also good as well. Since he has a low base HP, not the worst idea to get an HP ring on him. So usually defense rings are the most valuable and they're used the most, but in this situation, nothing wrong with bumping up that HP, because you can get a big flat roll from the ring. The boot, you can go either attack percent or speed, depending on the rotation of your team, but there's nothing wrong with having him go towards the back end of the rotation, because he is a damage dealer. So you want a chance to have your boosters boost, and then your debuffers debuff, and then you have this guy come from behind and just nuke and do some damage. So you can actually fit in some like main stat attack percent boots on him, as long as you've got the substats and the glyphs to kind of make it work and fit in with your rotation. Attack percent chest obviously is going to be most commonly used. Crit rate, crit damage gloves, synergizing with the damage amulet as well. And then up top, it's a little bit easier. You're just looking to round out that crit rate, get your speed right, and get everything kind of tuned, because the top ones are a lot simpler. For the booking process on this guy, the A1, we're only getting 20% damage. There's no buff chance. There's no like increase to the heal. Nothing crazy on the A1. So really, if you're trying to book him, you probably want to try to get the cooldowns. You want to get the A2 and the A3 booked up to the cooldown. And then if you get kind of good RNG and you can save a book or two on the A1 if you're trying to do it as budget as possible, there would be nothing wrong with that. And then we don't have any books on the passive. And again, he takes 14 books to max out fully. So you're probably going to spend at least 11 or 12 just to get these 2 cooldowns, even if you get good RNG. And then for the Masteries, I'm going to slide myself over a little bit so I'm not blocking. But I did go with Helm Smasher. Ignoring defense on a damage dealer is never a bad thing. And Helm Smasher is an amazing Mastery for damage dealers. So yeah, these Masteries right here are just kind of a generally useful Mastery setup for him. But like I always say, you want to build it according to how you are using the champion. This is just kind of the template that I tried to do to be just as general as possible for Masteries on him on a base level. And again, if you want to see these, to kind of pull them up whenever you would like, that infographic is linked down below in the pinned comment and the vid description. But now let's dive in and show you this guy in action here. So, okay, when we go ahead and auto on him, he is going to prioritize that bat flinging AoE attack that he's going to be doing most of the time. He's going to be prioritizing the A2, where he's going to attack all enemies, do some good damage, and place that leech and do the extra effects there of the Terminator, different type stuff that he's going to do on the A2 typically when you hit auto. But I want to also show you what the A3 looks like for the animation. That's the one where he places both of the debuffs, and he will do the multi-hit as long as they live. But if he obviously kills them in the first hit, he's not going to do the second hit. And then if you want to see what the A1 looks like, we're going to pop that up, and boom, that is the A1. Now, definitely worth noting, super nice that Plarium is doing this with some of their newer champions that they're releasing. We saw this with Lady Kimmy. She had a super fast kind of zoom in and out A1. The legacy champions had some really slow and annoying A1s, most famously with like Lord Shazar and Duchess. Duchess doesn't even move, but she just sits there and takes like 3 seconds to do her A1. Lord Shazar, he walks up there, does like the 3 hits on the triple hitter A1. But look what they're doing now with some of these A1s on their newer champions. Watch how fast this is. And boom. Look at that. Super fast on the A1. Just pop. It doesn't even move, doesn't even do anything. Even though he's got a melee sword weapon, they're really trying to listen to that feedback and adjust some of the animations of these champions to make that A1 a lot faster and kind of make it less of a disadvantage to use some of these champions with melee A1s. But I can also show you what a typical campaign run is going to look like with Vlad. He's not going to be a great campaign farmer or anything. He can do a decent job at it because he does damage every turn. And like I said, he's got a decent melee animation for his A1. But he's not going to be some blazer, 8 or 9 second campaign farmer. You can see right there the run was 13 seconds. So he can farm brutal pretty easily, but you're not going to be using him as an XP farmer probably, especially if you're kind of later on in the mid game or so when you've got somebody like a Skull Crown or something built to do that. And this is the test server, so it's a little bit hard for me to do like arena compositions and do as much as I can normally do. But I do want to show you some of the footage some of the highlights of the footage of when I was recording while I was testing, and I want to show you kind of a little cut up of that. So let me go ahead and pull that up. So right here, you're going to see Vlad, and what I'm doing right here is I'm testing. So I boosted up his attack, and then I debuffed with Lydia. You can see there he's hitting about 100 to 115k. And now I've got a Trunda, and this is not a maxed out Trunda, but you can see that she is going to be hitting for about 100, and then she hits another hit as well. So even a Trunda not in crazy gear did more. And then look at that, with the Veil buff, the Candrafon was hitting for like 150, 160 in that similar situation. So Vlad is not going to be one of the best DPSers in the game or anything. He's not going to be Trunda or Candrafon, but he's going to hit pretty decently hard. And then you can see that he can put in work against the Scarab. That was, I believe, the last stage on normal. He just blasted through it, and I was just kind of testing it quick to see what he looked like there against the Scarab, because he doesn't have the A1 that is going to lower the max HP, which is a super good ability versus the Scarab. And he has some Terminator stuff and the defense break and some self-sustain, so he could definitely be a good champion in the Scarab as well. This time you'll see towards the back end, I've got the duo. I've got Konstantin and I've got Vlad here in the back row, kind of with that 3-2 setup, the 3 supports in the front, and then my 2 damage dealers in the back. And then you can see at the end here, Vlad has got like savage gear and a really good setup, but Konstantin smashes him in damage. You can see that he's hitting pretty hard. I did speed this up so it would be a little bit better for your viewing, and we kind of get through stuff quickly here, so I sped it up a little bit. But you'll see at the end when the numbers pop up that Konstantin did a crazy amount of damage when you compare it to him and Vlad in terms of what they're cranking out. You can see he hit for like 154 right there. Pretty decent. So I believe they increased both their multipliers. So it's going to be exciting to see what the final number ends up being. And you can see right there the 2.6 versus the 1.2. Konstantin did a crazy amount of damage there, even though his gear was technically not as good. And then obviously a Faction Wars run. You've got the support, and then you've got Vlad there on the front right to kind of help me out there. And you could definitely 3-star the Undead 21 with him, because he's got some life leech, some self-sustain, and he's also got the revive on death that you can get some value out of as well. The boss on Undead 21 is really tough to 3-star because it's got that A1 that ignores defense, and then he's got Vlad has a really low base HP, but if you could manage to get his HP up to a decent amount and get some lucky RNG, kind of brute force it, either have him not get targeted or have him get some value out of the revive on death, you could definitely have him in a team that 3-stars Undead 21. But I wanted to show you what a run looks like here, and then let you see what the numbers kind of shake out as at the end here. So you can see here, if I just did this team a couple times, I would get good RNG and have Vlad alive at the end if I really tried at all. But you can see there, he was the biggest damage dealer, outperformed the Rotos on Faction 21 as well. And I do want to point out that when I was talking about in Faction Wars of him getting some value in the boss fight on the revive on death, that's probably a little bit disingenuous because he's probably not going to be getting a whole lot of kills in that boss round where you can pick up the revive on death buff, obviously. So yeah, unfortunately, that's not really going to bring a whole lot of value in that specific boss fight and that scenario. But you could definitely 3-star Undead with this guy, especially if you built for it and kind of planned for it and brute forced some of the RNG. But now let's go ahead and pop up the numbers from the tier list up above there, and we'll talk about some of the reasons behind this grading initially. And first of all, this is subject to change. This is not final. So as I get feedback, as I get more experience with this guy in the live version of the game, this is subject to change. But this is my initial gradings of him as a champion, if you're curious about the fusion. So first of all, we've got the book value of a 9. He does get good value out of the books, but he takes a lot of them at 14. Clan boss, he's okay. He does defense break, leech, some self-sustain, but he's not going to be like meta for the clan boss or anything. I couldn't go like 10 because he's not one of the best nukers in the game or anything. Definitely can't go 11 or 12, but he's decent in the arena. XP farm, he's going to be all right, but not amazing. Faction Wars, I can't go like 11 or 12 because of his low base HP, but he's definitely going to be solid. Void Affinity, he'll never be weak or anything, and he's got some nice utility in Faction Wars for sure. Doom Tower, he can be good against the Scarab and be a damage dealer for certain teams. Place leech, defense break, some self-sustain, but he's not going to be amazing. And the Dragon, his turn meter effect won't work against the Dragon, but it'll be decent. And then similar, Spider, he can defense break and stuff, but he's not going to be meta or anything for the Spider. Fire Knight, he doesn't have a triple hit A1, but he does have defense break, some turn meter type stuff, so he's not complete garbage or anything. He'll be decent versus the waves. Ice Golem, I think he'll be pretty good there. The revive on death could be nice if he's getting kills on the ads next to the Golem and stuff. Minotaur, he's awesome. He'll break the defense and do good damage. Similar story with the Void Keep. He's really good in the Void Keep because he can do some self-sustain with the healing on the A1 to kind of counter the poisons. The Spirit Keep and the Magic Keep, he'll be all right, but he doesn't have special capabilities like removing buffs or anything like that you really want in those two keeps. The Force Keep, he's awesome because he is not a weak affinity and he breaks defense and hits really hard. And then similar story there with the Arcane Keep. He'll break defense and hit hard and kind of help you farm that. So that's kind of the initial grades I'm thinking about, but definitely let me know down below if you agree or disagree, because I really enjoy hearing feedback, especially when it's a new champion like this, so that I can adjust my rankings here. And it's never going to be perfect, but try to make them as accurate as I can. So now in closing, what are my thoughts on Vlad as a champion? Would I change anything and all of that type of stuff? The A1 is what it is. I like how they're going with the vampire theme of kind of sucking the life out of something. So you're decreasing the max HP, and then you're kind of stealing, you're doing some life steal onto Vlad. Obviously, that's kind of the theme they're going with the design of the champion here. So I think the A1 kind of makes sense. and it's all right. Maybe it could hit a little bit harder, but they are open to addressing that. The A2, obviously they're going with that same theme. He's a vampire, so placing the leech. I think it would have been cool if you also like do heal reduction. Like you place the leech and AoE leech and AoE heal reduction. That wouldn't have made him like over-tuned or anything. I think that would have been a fun addition to his kit on there. And then obviously making him hit just a little bit harder from my initial testing. For the A3, it's pretty solid. I don't think I would really need to change much. It's a multi-hitter. You get decreased defense and block active skills. They're both for 2 turns, and then you can place the perfect veil. It's not even just a normal veil. It's a perfect veil on himself, and it's not even based on a kill or anything. It's just based on placing the debuff. So as long as it hits hard, I'm okay with the A3. The passive, giving him a revive on death. It's tough to get consistent value out of the revive on death. I would have maybe changed that a little bit. I would have maybe made this like has a 30% chance at the start of every turn to place a revive on death buff on this champion for 2 turns. Maybe that would be a little bit too good. Maybe like 20%. Has a 20% chance at the start of every turn to place a revive on death for 2 turns on this champion. Something like that maybe. And then having the turn meter effect there with the tandem with Constantine could maybe be a little bit more. Also fully heal the champion and their turn meter, but it's only when a kill. So if it's gonna be that, I would have also had it like revive a random ally or something. I would have added a little bit to the passive and changed it around a little bit. But I like the concept of reviving on death and the theme around the champion. The aura I don't like. I would have, since he has a low base HP and he's in the undead faction where HP is so important, and he's a void Lego from the undead faction, I probably would have went with HP, because if I remember right, some of the auras here of the legendaries, yeah, they don't really have. They've got Crypt King is HP all battle 33. Okay, so I probably would have went with like HP in all battles by 25% or something. You don't want the exact same one as another legendary in the faction or something, but that's probably the route I would have went instead of the crit rate. It's kind of underwhelming there for a void Lego. So yeah, all in all, I'd give Plarium like a B+ here on designing Vlad as a champion, and kind of releasing his kit here for Halloween. I think he could maybe use a little bit of love to justify the void legendary status that he has. I mean, those champions got to be really good, or it's going to be very disheartening. Like, it takes so much time and effort to get void legendaries, and so much luck as well. You really don't want people disappointed when they pull one. So void Lego's gotta bring a lot of punch to your account, and you really don't want players disheartened when they pull one. So I would give him maybe a little bit of love. I understand it's a very tough situation to be in, because you can't like break the game. You can't make the best champion in the game every fusion event. That would get really old and really annoying. But it's a tough line to walk on making a really good champion that people are excited for, while also not breaking the game in some sort of crazy way. So I would give him a B+. I think they got close, and they are willing to increase his multipliers and stuff. So we'll have to wait and see how good that makes him. But initially, I would give them kind of a B or B+ here after my testing and playing around with him on their design for Vlad as a champion. So I would definitely recommend going for him on the fusion. You always want to acquire legendaries, especially void legendaries, whenever you can. So I would recommend, if it's realistic for you, to go for the event. And also let me know down below. It's such a new champion, and I've only had access to him on the test server, so I would love to hear your opinions down below as well, and I will definitely read through that and possibly adjust his grading if I can see a common theme kind of forming down there. So good luck during the fusion events coming up for Halloween. So yeah, that's gonna do it for me on this one. And remember, down below there is that infographic if you want to pull it up and take a look. Don't forget to subscribe on your way out, because I am working on a lot of resources like this coming up for the fusion, for the new champions coming to the game, and I'm going to get you as much information as I possibly can. So as always, good luck in the fusion. Thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.